The Adirondack Park is a sprawling 6 million acre wilderness area the size of Vermont. But people also live there. That means there's a constant dance between environmental conservation efforts and supporting vibrant, healthy human communities within the park. The Adirondacks' largest environmental nonprofit, the Adirondack Council, is always grappling with the balance between wilderness and society, and they've got a new leader. We hear from him on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Pearsall Wealth Management at UBS Wealth Management USA, subsidiary UBS AG, member FINRA SIPC, 1 Broad Street, Glens Falls.
Hi, I'm Amy Feiereisel. It's Monday, July 17th. First up, childcare took a big hit over the past few years, and the North Country lost a lot of childcare providers. To address that loss, many counties, including Jefferson, Lewis, Franklin, and Essex, have invested in local startup programs to get new childcare providers up and running. Warren and Saratoga counties are the latest to start a training program with the support of their workforce development departments. I spoke with one of the coordinating childcare agencies. Here's my report. Getting licensed as a childcare provider is complicated and expensive, but a new program in Warren and Saratoga counties wants to make it easier. They've secured about $200,000 in federal funding to help 10 new home-based childcare providers open their doors in Warren and Saratoga counties in the next 3 years. The money will be used for trainings, licensing fees, and materials. New childcare providers are desperately needed in this area, says Lynn Sickles.
Since 2019, there's been a 40% loss of childcare in Warren, Washington, and Hamilton counties.
Sickles is the executive director of the Southern Adirondack Child Care Network, which has been running similar programs for the past year in Warren, Washington, and Hamilton counties.
We have 3 pipeline projects already underway, and this is yet a new initiative.
But this time, they're working with Warren and Saratoga's workforce development departments.
It's a partnership between those of us who are experts in childcare and those that are experts in workforce development.
Sickles says it's a big deal that workforce development agencies are investing in the childcare industry.
We've got the voice of workforce development, understanding how important quality childcare is. It's something those of us in the childcare field have just known forever. I've been in this position 31 years, and I've fought for this type of thing. So for me, it's personally exciting.
People who sign up for the program will have an early childcare specialist assigned to help them through the licensing and setup process, step by step. They'll also have access to free business training through the workforce development departments.
Many people get into the business of childcare, especially family or group, because they love children. And then they suddenly realize, oh, this is a business and I have a lot to do. So that business aspect of being able to provide training is crucial to creating a sustainable program.
Sickles says they're choosing to focus on in-home providers because startup costs are much lower than for childcare centers, and in-home providers have proven to work well in rural areas. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio. The largest environmental nonprofit in the Adirondacks has a new leader. Rocky Aguirre took the helm of the Adirondack Council last month. He's the first person of color to lead the organization. Aguirre's predecessor, Willie Janeway, led the Adirondack Council for about a decade. Aguirre told our Adirondack reporter, Emily Russell, that despite the leadership shift, the mission of the council remains the same.
Our North Star is wilderness character, ecological integrity. I'm a former wilderness ranger. I believe deeply in the power of wilderness and landscapes that are open and wild. I see that being the central theme to the Adirondack Council's work. But all of my 28 years of landscape scale conservation work has really focused on holistic models. How do you engage communities? How do you engage across regions? And that will take time because we haven't put the resources in other places that I see us doing in the coming years.
Communities have always been integral to the Adirondack Park. You know, some of these places are really struggling in the more rural pockets of the park. Populations are declining. There's housing difficulties, employment problems. I wonder, what actionable items you see that the council can take to address some of the biggest issues facing Adirondack communities.
I think it's about sitting down and looking at issues like renewable energy and siting and sort of how those can be positive influences and where it's appropriate. Affordable housing, it's trying to see where the intersection is between maybe open space and conserved lands and really trying to find new models that might exist. And being a facilitator for models that exist elsewhere or are being created elsewhere. The Hudson Valley has really started to look at how you can integrate green affordable housing into a conservation strategy. There's not an easy answer to that, especially for a wilderness-based organization. But by creating truly vibrant communities to really create the presence and the infrastructure and the support that the communities need, it makes us more effective as advocates for the wilderness that we think is really one of the primary economic drivers for this region. It's what makes this place so special.
What are some of your big conservation goals in the next 5 to 10 years for the council?
Yeah, so I do believe that taking a holistic view at park governance, not just one part of reform, like reforming APA or reforming DEC or engaging around visitor use management, it's to really see park governance, and that's public and private lands, connected in ways that I don't think we've really thought about. I really would love for us to really start to think and talk about the park as a whole, right? We really do tend to fragment the park into, regions, and they have distinct personalities, but I really think that there's a benefit in us looking at how to manage the park across the entire 6 million acres,
And what would that actually look like? What systems in place would you want to see to make that happen?
So I think this is where you start to say, where is the Adirondack Park Agency role? I think it's also for the Department of Environmental Conservation and seeing opportunities for their management to take on, rather than sort of a regional perspective, but a park perspective, right? And to really try and create cohesion through their Region 5 and Region 6.
And how about the APA? What would you like to see them do differently?
I think it's just to be able to put the resources across the park, and we really do need to sort of elevate the role that the APA has and the staffing and the resources. We come back to this issue all the time, and you can't serve the park in the best way possible without really having these agencies both fully staffed, have the resources that they need, and to really truthfully start to look at how do you bring in new talents, new skill sets, new civil service titles that allow you to bring in the technical expertise to allow a park to be managed as a park, to really allow the APA to have the staffing and the technical expertise to dig into all of the housing development issues that we're seeing, map amendments, to look at the scale of a park that's the size of Vermont and see what the APA does on such a limited, both budget and resources is amazing.
What is your favorite way to experience the park?
So I'm a recovering fly fishing guide and somebody who is drawn to water. And so whether it's in a boat, a canoe, but probably my most favorite way to just get away and to explore the Adirondacks is with a fly rod in hand. I'm also an avid hunter. I spend a great deal of time in the woods, trying to put food on the table, and really believe in the value of hunting and the power of the sporting community. Hunting and fishing are probably the two ways my entire life that I've spent the most outside.
That was the new executive director of the Adirondack Council, Rocky Aguirre, speaking with reporter Emily Russell. We have more news all the time at ncpr.org. We also have a way for you to help shape our upcoming news coverage. The NCPR newsroom is going to be doing a lot of healthcare reporting this fall, and we want to hear about your experiences with finding quality care in the North Country. Do you have to drive long distances? Can you get what you need? Help inform the questions we'll ask and the stories we'll tell by filling out our healthcare survey. You can find it on our website homepage. There's a big box that says Take Our Healthcare Survey at ncpr.org. About 200 people have already filled it out. Thanks for helping us be a station that listens. Music today by Steve Hamilton of Potsdam and Tim Ellifritz of Johnsburg. I'm Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.